Hello folks, stable One UI 6.0 update is rolling out to more and more Samsung devices, so it's time to tell you about its new features, because this version of One UI based on Android 14 is a little more interesting than the last year's updates. Therefore guys, I urge you to share this video with your friends, especially with those who have Samsung. Perhaps they will find out something interesting from this video. Now let's begin. The first thing we notice is a drastically changed design, in a good way. In fact, nothing radical here, but there is a common underlying theme in the entire update. Samsung has reorganized the elements in the interface to make it more arranged and systematic. This is largely thanks to the new default font. The new Samsung One UI Sans typeface is rounder and broader. The same words occupy more space horizontally than earlier. As a result, the text appears shorter in height despite actually being of comparable size, making the surrounding area seem wider and more open. It adds a sense of airiness throughout the interface. The Samsung keyboard also gets redesigned emojis with One UI 6. The difference is subtle, but it's noticeable. App icon labels are now limited to a single line for a cleaner and simpler look, and Galaxy and Samsung have been removed from some app names to make them shorter and easier to scan. When you swipe back, new arrows appear in the circle, which also adds some airiness to the interface. By the way, there is a hidden trick with this gesture. Go to Settings and open Developer Options. If it is not enabled, then in the Software Information menu, tap the build number several times. After entering your phone password, the Developer Options will open. This is a menu option at the very bottom of Root Settings. Here we scroll down and find Predictive Back Animations. If you enable this option, then during a back gesture, you will see Predictive Back Animations. This is a feature of Android 14, but in Galaxy it's still in experimental mode, which is why it is in this secret menu. It seems to work only in the Settings application and not everywhere. It is a cool thing. I hope it will be added as a main feature in 6.1, but for now we can just see how it works. But be prepared for its unstable operation. Sometimes my screen blinks when this prompt is triggered. As for animations, I didn't see any big changes relative to One UI 5.1. On the contrary, it seems that the widget animation is broken. Look, on 5.1 we have this beautiful widget animation, but on 6.0 it's simply gone. Hopefully this will be fixed with the next patch. And while I was filming this video, a home screen update was released that fixes the animation of widgets and makes the icons on the main screen a little smaller. The recent apps menu has larger icons at the bottom and more predictable movements between open applications when you swipe them left and right. I like it. Now, the Quick Settings menu is where you see the biggest changes, such that you would easily confuse them for being made by different brands if you weren't already aware of the update. For the first time since the introduction of One UI, Samsung has wavered from its commitment to one-hand usage in the interface, which was maintained mainly by placing icons in the lower half. Instead, the Quick Settings on One UI 6 extend out to the top and are segmented into 4 different sections. Firstly, the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth menus now assume permanent positions at the top of the display. This new placement makes sense because we are almost always connected to devices with these services virtually all the time. Additionally, it makes it easier to switch Wi-Fi networks or Bluetooth devices simply by long pressing the icons, with a gesture now opening a small overlay window for these settings. Then we have the Quick Settings in a square-shaped card-like confinement. You can swipe right on this area to reveal other active Quick Settings tiles. If you need to add new ones, you can now tap the pen-shaped edit icon on the top of this interface. Interestingly, you can now separately edit the top 6 buttons on the top of notifications or the entire list. Previously, the first 6 icons would automatically compress onto the top of the page, but you can now add different icons in both views. That is definitely one of the most compelling improvements to this section. I will also note that this seemingly empty space below is actually not empty, because if we turn on the multi-sim info in the menu, then this area will be filled. By default, a compact quick panel with notifications appears when you swipe down from the top of the screen, and if you swipe down again, the expanded quick panel shows up. But on One UI 6, you can enable the Quick Settings Instant Access option to directly go to the expanded quick panel by swiping down from the right side of the top of the screen. To enable it, tap the pencil icon, select Quick Settings Instant Access, and use the toggle to turn it on. Underneath the brightness slider, we now see persistent buttons for Eye Comfort Shield and Dark dark theme. At the bottom there are 2 more buttons for screen mirroring and smart home controls, which again are persistent and cannot be customized. It appears the choice of these buttons is based on how frequently users engage with them, based on data sent back to Samsung as part of device diagnostics. It would be better to get customization options for these buttons and not just the quick settings ones. Notifications panel has also changed. The first few things to note are the smaller quick settings icons that are now farther apart and leave ample space in between for a cleaner look. Above these icons, the time, day and date now appear in a single line in the same text size. Below the icons now lies a persistent brightness bar, which would previously be only available by expanding quick settings completely. Coming to the notifications, each one now appears as an individual bubble instead of stack. The spacing between each notification bubble has also been increased. Another minor change is how the button for notification settings now appears on the left instead of the right previously, presumably to prevent users from accidentally tapping it instead of the clear button. One UI 6 adds an option to sort notifications by time. You can enable the option by opening the device's settings app, going into the notifications menu, tapping the sort notification option and selecting by time instead of by priority. Another significant change is the new media player. The new media controller, available in the notification area and on the lock screen, is nothing revolutionary, but it fits this era of mobile UX and One UI perfectly. It is sort of like an auto-stacking widget for the lock screen and notification area. It appears automatically when you are playing audio or video content on your phone, and if you are playing content from more than one source, all the media players stack and can be scrolled through. The controller can be resized with just a tap of a button, and it will remember the size you picked on both the lock screen and the notification area even after you lock and unlock your phone. And of course, the media controller in One UI 6.0 is interactive. You can control playback like songs and videos and drag the timeline slider. Furthermore, when using the media player on the lock screen, you get a handy media output shortcut. But perhaps the most striking thing about the new media controller in One UI 6.0 is how it looks when expanded. It shows album art, if available, and the wavy timeline is mesmerizing. Perhaps the one thing I'd like to see improved is the animation to behave more like a functional equalizer instead of showing a seemingly random animation. But still, this media player is very good. The lock screen has received very modest changes. Firstly, One UI 6 adds a widget for the Samsung SmartThings app, so you can control and view your connected devices from the lock screen. Also, One UI 6 allows you to move the clock on the lock screen to different position instead of locking it to the top center of the lock screen. Finally, you have more clock styles and clock text fonts to choose from. Like notifications on One UI 6, the Settings app also gets a visual upgrade with more space between items and submenus. In addition, the sliders throughout settings are now thicker and fit well with the overall interface. When checking a saved Wi-Fi network's detailed settings, One UI 6 adds a password field that shows you your password when you tap the eye icon next to it. You will be asked to enter your device password or pattern before the password is shown, so it's secure. In addition, you can share the network with other Samsung Galaxy users using a share button at the bottom of the screen, next to QR code and forget. Galaxy phones have a device care section in the device settings where you can manage storage, memory, battery and spyware protection, in addition to some optimization options to keep your device smoothly. But with One UI 6, the battery section is now a separate menu accessible from the device settings. The section itself has also been redesigned. Now the battery usage has become clearer. For example, on the 27th I used 114% of the battery and my screen on time was 7 hours 9 minutes, not bad. By the way, when scrolling between days, there is some kind of crooked animation of changing days, creating an impression of a micro freeze. And finally, the Protect battery feature on Galaxy phones and tablets, which limits maximum battery charge to 85% when enabled, can be accessed more quickly on One UI 6, as it now shows up in the very first screen when you go to the battery section. Now, let's go to the security and privacy menu. Here we can see a new feature called Auto blocker. It keeps your Galaxy phone or tablet safe by blocking threats such as malicious software. Also, now One UI 6 doesn't show a scan button when you enter the security and privacy menu in the device settings, as the device is already automatically scanned every time you enter that menu. Airplane mode become a little smarter. If you turn on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth while airplane mode is on, your phone will remember. The next time you use airplane mode, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth will remain on instead of turning off. Traditionally, Samsung doesn't forget about modes and routines. Now you can set up different lock screens with their own wallpaper, clock style, app shortcuts and more for when you're driving, working, exercising and more. When you start editing the lock screen while a mode is on, you'll edit the lock screen for that mode. To sum up, One UI can still easily be called one of the most refined Android-based interfaces. More importantly, it is the most stable interface with fewer bugs than any other scheme. One UI 6 takes the next step towards a more cohesive software experience. The update based on Android 14 is undoubtedly its most extensive in the last 5 years and arguably the best too. Overall, this new interface seems to be a step in the right direction, and we wait to see how applications of onboard AI with more advanced chipsets like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on devices like the Galaxy S24 series improve the experience even further. But before that, wait for the second part of the review. It will be out very soon. Thank you very much for watching, share this video with your friends, see you in the next one, good luck to all.